This video I'm going to show you how to use mail merge in Word and Excel to generate large question sets with variables inside of a Moodle quiz. This is very similar to the calculated question, but if we need variables within the question that are not linear or are specific numbers or are not numbers at all. So for instance, a piece of text, this is a better option. So to start off with, we need to get an example question. So we're going to go in our course and we're going to go to questions and we're going to create a simple single question with our variables in it. So I'm going to create a new question. This does work with multiple question types. It won't make any sense to do calculated. It would be easier just to use the calculated question. Also with several of these others, but I'm going to show you a multiple choice question since that's one of the more commons. But I have used this with numerical, essay, short answer, matching. Those do work, but we'll start off simple here. We're going to add a question and we're going to call this sample question, and we're going to put in some text. So we're going to say, what is the area of a, and here we're going to add a color in. So for my color, I'm just going to put a placeholder in here. So what is the area of a green wall? That is, and here I'm going to have a variable of length. So is 16, 17, 18, whatever feet long. And I'm going to have another variable, height, feet tall. So that's my variables. And I'm going to come down here and I want to make sure I get all the settings that I want. So I'm going to have one answer. I want to shuffle the choices. I want no numbering. This is going to give us kind of a framework to go off of. So I want to make sure my settings are correct so I don't have to change those. And for the answers, I'm just going to put in A, and that's going to be my right answer. And just for clarity, I'm going to put bracket or around it. And B. And I'm just going to use 3 choices. Obviously, this works with as many choices as you want, just like normal. Alright, I'm going to save that answer, or save that question. So I have a question that really doesn't have any answers or variables in it. They're just placeholders. So want to keep it very simple, especially when you're starting out. Now I'm going to export that question. And I want to export this as the Moodle XML format. And the point of this is to show me what the XML is going to look like for a question. I'm going to take off category, which also takes off content or context of the file, so that I have the simplest file I can get. So I'm going to export that. And here is where it's going to save it. I'm going to save it to my desktop. And I don't really rename it because I'm only going to use this for a few seconds. And then I'm going to open that with WordPad. If you're on a Mac, whatever your word editor is. So here is an XML question. And if we look at this, we've got a header which starts the file telling it what it's encoded as, that it's XML, and that it's a quiz. Don't worry, it's not really a quiz, it's just quiz questions. But then we start the question tag. And if we go down, XML is always a start tag and an end tag, just like HTML is. We have an ending question tag. So everything between these two is the question. So this is what a question looks like for multiple choice in Moodle XML. Then we have the close of the quiz too. So that's going to be important here in a little bit. But right now, I want to grab the question. So starting with the question tag here, go all the way down to the end where the end question. This is why it's important to make this question as clean as possible, exporting it out so we don't have a lot of garbage here. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to go into Word, and we're going to paste just that question. So we have the question number, and we can actually delete that question number because we're going to let it just fill it out when it imports it. And so if we look down here, the areas we really want to edit is the text of the question right here. And we're going to want to edit the answers. And so if we look down here, here is the answer. Here is A. And notice that that is 100%. So that's the value of that question. B, remember we typed in the letter A and B, is 0 points, and C is 0 points. So we're going to edit those values using the mail merge function. To start with though, before we go into that, we have to open Excel and we have to build our file. So here's Excel. Here's our variables. L is the length of the wall. A, B, and C are the answers. H is the height of the wall, and color is the color of the wall. Now, obviously, color doesn't affect this answer one way or the other, but I just want to use it to show you that you can put text in this. You can actually add images, you can add HTML tables, anything that you can put in an Excel cell, you can add to the question. So I'm going to use for my length, I'm going to use a random number between 5 and 30. So that gives me a realistic length of the wall. Then height, I don't want a random number because a wall height in a room is only going to be one of a couple of values. So I'm going to put 8 feet here. That's a common wall height. You can see I'm also going to come in here and use 10 foot and 12 foot. So I have this with 3 variables. So A, my answer A, I want to equal, because remember this is going to be the correct answer, the random number times the height. So there's my A answer. And for B, I'm going to use the random number times the height minus the random number. So this is going to give me a value that's pretty close to the calculated minus whatever the random number is, just to give me a good foil, something that the students go, it could be that, it could be something else. I'm going to add the random answer, or the random length, times the height minus, and this time I'm going to minus the height of the room, which gives me 3 answers that could be right, but are slightly off. So A is the correct answer, B and C are my foils. I'm going to copy this. So once I create this, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make 10 versions. And right now, don't worry about the zeros. So I want to copy my 8 down. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to make the wall height 10. And then I'm going to copy that down. Give me 10 versions of the 10-foot wall height. And then I'm going to copy that down. And I'm going to use 12 foot for the height. So this is just to show you that I can control this third column. And now I'm going to copy all of that. And I'm going to make the first set between 1 and 30. I'm going to make that a blue wall. And then I'm going to make this one a red wall. And again, these don't really affect the question, but it's just to show you that you can put words in as variables. So there I have 59 questions, 3 wall heights, random wall length, red walls, blue walls. I could keep copying this for other variables. Any value that I can put in an Excel spreadsheet, I can do this with. So I'm going to save this, and I've saved this as question data. I'm going to go ahead and close it. I'm going to go back to my Word document, and again, I've pasted the question text in here. I've taken out the question number. Don't need that. Just take out the number itself. And now I'm going to start a mail merge. So under mailings, start mail merge. I'm going to use the merge wizard. I'm going to use just letters. So start document. I'm going to use the current document, my question here. And I'm going to use an existing list. So this is looking for addresses, but I'm not going to use it that way. So I'm going to use an existing list. I'm going to browse to my desktop. I'm going to use the question data. And here's the data that's on there. All right. So next it says write my letter. So my XML here is going to be the letter. And I'm going to come down here to my question text, and I'm going to substitute where I put the word color. So I'm going to highlight that and delete, and then I'm going to go over here to more items, and here are my variables in that database. So I'm going to use the variable color. I'm going to go into length. This is just the placeholder I put in the XML. I'm going to go to more items. I'm going to use L for my length. I'm going to do the same for height. And scroll down. Here are my answers. Remember, I put in the little bracket A to hold the placeholder for the A value. So I'm going to delete that value and insert my A from my field. Same for B. And finally the same for C. Alright, so now I've substituted the variables for my placeholders. I'm going to go preview the letter, and you can see here it actually put the values in for a sample letter. So what is the area of a blue wall that is 21 feet long and 8 feet tall? That looks right. And answer 1 is 168. Answer 2 is 147. and answer 3 is 160, with 168 being the correct answer. That's what I want. Now I'm going to go down here to complete merge, and I'm going to go to edit individual letters instead of print, and this is going to save all the records to one file. So now I have a single file that is 60 blocks or 60 questions in XML. Now there's one more thing that I need to do before I can import this. I'm going to go back to my original question. This is the XML that we downloaded, we got the question text from. I need to copy the header, which is this 2 lines here, and I'm going to paste that in. Scroll to the bottom, go back to my original XML, scroll down and grab the closing quiz bracket, and add that onto the end. And now I'm going to save this as import questions, and I'm going to save it as a text document. Save, and let's put that on the desktop. And yes, I want to go ahead and leave it as text. And I'm going to close this, close that file, close that one. I don't need those changes, so don't save. And here on my desktop, here's this import questions text. I'm going to rename this, taking the .txt off the end, and rename it XML. And yes, I do want to change that. Now I'm going to open Moodle back, and instead of going to the export function, I'm going to go to import. I want to make sure I pick Moodle XML format. I'm going to choose that file, and import. Now if I've done everything correct, you will see here it parsed the questions. It imported 58 questions. Remember, that's actually how many I had. And here are some examples of those. So now if I hit continue, I have 59 questions in here. If I go and look at one of these questions, and notice all the question titles are the same, because I'm going to stick these into a category, and then I might pull 2 or 1 of these randomly from that category to make the question. So it really doesn't matter to me which question it is, because I'm always going to be pulling randomly. So if I preview this, this is the sample 1. This is the one that I created first. So I want to make sure I delete that one. So this first one here is the one that I actually created, and you can see that it actually has a different timestamp. So I'm going to delete that one, because I don't want to put that on a quiz. And I go down to this next one. This is the one created from the file, preview, and there it is. What is the area of a blue wall that is 21 feet long and 8 feet tall? And here are the answers. And remember, these questions are not random. These are sequential going down. So I need to make sure I pull randomly from that list. So in theory, if I scroll down here a good ways and preview one of these, I should get what is the area of a red wall? Because remember, all my blue wall questions were first, then the red wall, and then I could continue that file out. So that's it. That's how to build these.